Hello, YouTubers. If you've never watched another one of my videos, that's okay. But please watch and listen to the end of this one. Please. This is going to be a true but serious story about yours truly, plain old geezer, who has suffered for many years with anxiety issues and depression. You may not be able to tell by some of my videos, hopefully. Now, don't you dare leave me now, or Santa will put you on the naughty list for a long time. He has the power. This information could truly save your life, a child's life, a friend's life, and or save them or yourself many years of severe mental and physical pain. I always thought I was alone and different, and hid it very well. But it took its toll 20 years ago when I finally got the help I needed, way overdue. It all started in grade school. Yep, that long ago. I was scared in school every day. I don't know why. I was too young to understand. Most mornings I woke up with a stomachache. Enough so that I convinced my mom I was sick. Then, like a miracle, I would feel better after the school bus left. Well, my mom caught on to that, so many times I got taken to school late. It made things worse for me because I had to walk into a classroom alone and was the center of attention until I could be seated and be somewhat hidden. If a teacher raised his or her voice, aimed at another student or as the class as a whole, I felt as though it was directed right at me, and my nerves would stand on edge. My stomach would get upset. I was scared. Never understood why or what I was afraid of. Now, bullies. There is one in every class, and I avoided them as much as possible. But since I was so quiet and scared and small, it showed, and I became a target. True bullies only pick on kids they know who won't fight back. Oh, how I wish I would have found the guts just once to attempt to defend myself in all those school years. So afraid of embarrassing myself in front of my fellow classmates. That's the fight or flight syndrome. And for me, there wasn't a choice, it was just flight. I'm still holding grudges against several bullies who disrupted my life in ways they will never know. Yes, I need to put that to sleep, for I'm the one that let it happen, but I never became bold enough to beat the crap out of any of them who I thought deserved it so well. This constant fear hurt my capacity to learn. Let's face it, school is all about remembering information, but when your mind keeps getting overwhelmed by other distractions, well, the memory is weakened. I'm also convinced I had ADD before it was ever diagnosed. I had a very short attention span. After reaching junior high, it finally dawned on me I was actually in the bottom of the class, where most of the bullies were. So I hated school and everything about it except looking at the pretty girls. Now, I still enjoyed looking at pretty girls. Well, I had such a low self-esteem, all I could figure was if I was a jock, I could have that special girl and I could call my girlfriend, and that would, I figure, earn me respect. If you have a son, a daughter, a grandson, a granddaughter that shows some of these signs, please don't ignore it. There is help available. Depression and anxiety issues are treatable and don't have the attachment of shame that they used to have. Because of my conditions, I didn't challenge myself career-wise. I really had to force myself to make a better life for myself. After graduation, the daily panics and fears lessened somewhat, so I was able to move on, but it took a while. Music became my salvation, actually in high school, but nobody knew it. Helped bring me out of my shell. I played the drums for 18 years, but as a drummer, I was behind the rest of the band. So in one sense, I had a comfort zone surrounded by drums and the front musicians. Still, I played in some of the shakiest places you can imagine, bars in some of the scariest locations, and this started when I was 17. But I could get past the fear for some reason because the purpose and the love of playing music drove me. As time went on, I got better, the bands got better, the venues got better, my confidence grew, and I never had too many problems with anxiety and depression. But it would flare up at times, but it was under control. After 18 years of playing 4 nights a week, plus working full-time, I decided it was time to grow up and try to find a true career. The smoke-filled bars were absolutely killing me, and I knew music was not going to last forever as a career. So I had moved on. I found different jobs, and after being disillusioned by my last job, working for a company as a sales rep, I felt the urge to sell the same industrial tools and supplies, but on my own. I spent 18 years also working out of my home and had my wife doing the bookwork, paying bills, and anything else I could get her to do to free me up to sell. The business reached a saturation point as a 2-person business and could not handle the constant stress I put myself through to try to grow, let alone maintain the current businesses. Strange things were happening to me. Chest pains, symptoms of a heart attack, you name it. I started developing those chest pains, getting nervous, worrying about how to keep up. I was working 12-hour days, including weekends. Went through several stress tests and spent 3 days in hospital in intensive care with all the symptoms of a heart attack. Diagnosis, all stress-related. Suggested seeing a therapist. I thought, well, now I know what it is, that takes a bundle off my back. Started reading books about it and everything else, and that seemed to help. But from that trip coming back from the hospital, my wife was telling me a list of things that I had to do to catch up on customer demands, and I could feel my chest tighten up again. I asked her if she'd just like to take me back to the hospital. Well, I had enough of it, so in 1999, I threw in the towel and gave up being an entrepreneur. It took most of that year to get rid of inventory, close out old accounts, get the house ready to sell, because I felt I just had to move away. The industrial economy in Pittsburgh was taking another hit, and that is where my business was focused. Customers owed me money and thought I was a bank. And one of my more active accounts stuck me for over $4,000 when they went bankrupt. More stress. I managed to pay off all my vendors and worked on getting rid of my last inventory. Sold $40,000 worth of inventory for around $4,000 or $5,000 just to get rid of it because I was desperate. Well, I had moved myself to North Carolina because everything across my desk said North Carolina or Charlotte. Things seemed to fall in place for some reason. But when I was in North Carolina, I'm living by myself in a not so fancy apartment. I'm missing my wife. I'm missing my friends. I know my wife is up in Pennsylvania, leaving her to close out the rest of the business, sell the house, pack things up. I wasn't too fond of the new sales job either because I was used to dealing with people on a regular basis, the same people, so you become friends. Well, not with this job. It was very lonely. It was a hard hit. You go in and sell and get out and go to the next one. So I went through a whole bunch of other things when I was living in Charlotte by myself that caused even more stress. But we finally settled into our new home the day before Thanksgiving, and my wife managed to cook a Thanksgiving supper for the both of us. Now, my job was selling memberships to small business owners. These memberships allowed small business owners to voice their concerns to the state and federal government through those memberships about issues affecting their businesses. I was actually pretty successful in spite of what I didn't like about it, and that was the loneliness. And over the holidays, business owners don't want to talk to me. I worked straight commission, So that put more pressure on me too, because if I'm not selling, I'm not eating. Well, on December 10th, 1999, it was time to get up and hit the streets and see what I could drum up. There was only one small problem. I could not move my body. I was physically paralyzed. I couldn't move my legs, my arms. I woke up my wife and informed her of my problem, and she says, well, you just lay there. I'm going to prepare breakfast and make coffee, and then we can talk. That is the strangest thing I ever went through, and I don't wish it for anybody. That's what untreated stress will do to you. I wasn't seeking help, so my brain just said, okay, I'm taking over and you aren't going anywhere. Well, after breakfast and coffee and more talking, I felt well enough to go out, and I was finally able to move and hit a couple of small businesses that were still on my file list. That file list consists of 3x5 cards with information about the businesses I was calling on, provided to me by the company I worked for. So I made my first stop, got shot down. I then went on into our local industrial park to sort through my leftover cards. But I discovered I couldn't read them. They made no sense to me. I called my trainer and told him through my panicking tears what was happening. He said, go home, take a long weekend. We will start a new phase that's easier by renewing existing customers. Well, I never made it to that Monday. I went back home and I could not stop crying. I was having, in simple words, a nervous breakdown. My wife found someone for me to talk to on the phone who she understood what I was going through, trying to calm me down, which she did. I don't know how at the time my wife found this person who really, I think, could have saved my life, because death seemed so much easier. Yes, I was in so much mental and physical pain. I just wanted to end any way possible. That afternoon, we ended up at some therapist office, and after a short meeting, he says, come back Monday and we'll talk some more, and I'll sell you my tapes. Well, that left a bitter taste in my mouth. When we left the office, my wife agreed he wasn't going to give me the help I needed now. We found another therapist, and she said after a short conversation with me, oh, you're having acute depression. We need to get you some help. That came from a very understanding doctor who had to prescribe prescriptions. The therapist couldn't do that. It took 5 different combinations of meds over several months until we found one that the side effects weren't worse than the cure. But I've been on the same meds now for 20 years. Thank goodness. Over time, I've managed to reduce the anxiety medication to 1/3 of what it was taken. But I can't get any less than that, and I think I'll be on those and an antidepressant for the rest of my life, which is okay, because I'm quite comfortable with that. Now, the whole reason for the story is to let you know maybe you're not alone. I've run into many people who suffer as I did just from talking to them, which helped me. Please don't let yourself go without getting help before your brain takes over your body. Just talking to someone can help tremendously. Now, women are much better at this than most men. As a friend of someone who seems to have problems, treat them with serious concern. Listen to them. Ask questions. Help them through their thoughts. Let them know it's nothing to be ashamed of. And don't you be ashamed of talking to them. It's difficult to do sometimes because people get emotional and you don't want to cause somebody more harm, but they have to get this out. It's our stressful lifestyle. We're always comparing ourselves to those who we think have more and are happier. Our thoughts can become an enemy to us. The people you want to emulate just might be having the same problems that you are, or even worse. I've met many people who have stress-related problems, and they have told me that I helped them just by talking about it. I've always wanted to help someone to get the help that is out there before they get where I was. That is why I'm telling my story on YouTube and urge you to share this with anyone you care about. You don't have to know if they're having problems. I'm willing to bet someone in their family or their friends or your friends and families struggle with stress in one form or another. Who wouldn't in this day of COVID-19? Most people can handle it and accept it as part of life, which it is. But some people handle it differently and can't control it. I think part of it could be inherited. In this time of COVID, who isn't having stress and related problems? Closeness and hugs help, but those are few and far between right now. So please reach out with a sympathetic word to a friend or a family member. They need you to listen, and maybe you need them to listen to you. Do not let yourself go through what plain old geezer did, please. If my story helps just one person at any age, then it would make what I went through worthwhile. Well, almost. I can only imagine if you talked to a child, maybe your child, a grandson, granddaughter, ask them what they're feeling inside, and find out maybe you could even change their entire outlook on life by having them open up and discover their feelings. And in an early life, this would be very important as far as I'm concerned after what I went through. Now, of course, they're going to have good and bad days. You're not going to cure everybody's pains and aches of stress. It's just part of life. You may be able to make those painful days a little less painful for them and for you. What you can do is learn and understand stress, anxiety, and depression, and share what you know. I wish you peace, and I hope this helps. And now, for some peaceful moments from my yard and the sounds of some birds again. Thank you for listening. Please, get well.